Hey, welcome to the CMO Whisper Show. I'm your host, Steve Olensky. Part marketing practitioner, part ad agency veteran, part journalist. I was a writer for Forbes for 10 years. I've had so many insightful conversations over the years with business leaders, to athletes, to celebrities, to, of course, CMOs. The only difference now is instead of sharing those insights through written form, I'm doing it this way. My guest this week is Shelley Zalis, CEO and co-founder of the Female Quotient, a true trailblazer known as the Chief Troublemaker. Shelley's made her mark as an entrepreneur, global advocate for women in the workplace, and a 3-time movement maker. Interesting. She pioneered online research, co-founded the #SeeHer initiative, and built the Female Quotient, home to the world's largest community of women in business. With accolades like the Matrix Award and recognition as one of LinkedIn's top 20 most influential voices, Shelley's impact is undeniable. Shelley, my newfound friend, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be here with you, Steve. I already liked your intro and the fact that you're going to hear barking and babies in the background. It's all good.
I can't. It's real life. It's real life. And that's one of the many things you and I have in common. We don't put fronts on for anybody.
I embrace it. I actually love it. And for me to have my little grandchild, one of my 3, living with me for a year as they renovate a house is like, whoop, whoop. It came with a big dog who I've learned to love. And
I love it.
Yeah.
That's okay. I got it. The Chief Troublemaker. I have to admit, I would have gone after that title myself, but you beat me to it.
I share. You got to earn it though. And you got to be it. You can't just say it. You got to be it.
No. Actions and words. I got it, right? But I'm just curious, where did that come from? Who named you that?
I think I gave it to myself. Okay. I break every rule that makes no sense and create new ones. So I'm a good troublemaker, I think. And I'm it's a troublemaker that creates the next new. But I think it was maybe when I was on the top 25 list of CEOs in market research. I was the only woman top 25 in market research. And maybe Bob Lederer did an article on me, and he said, I have to quote it because it was really good. This is in 2000. It's a really long time ago, so I can't really remember. But he basically insinuated that I create good trouble. And I think that's where it might have come from.
I love that. It's such a great, provocative, and you own it.
It gives you permission to be. That's why I really don't like generic titles like SVP and EVP and VP and project manager. What does that mean? It doesn't say anything about you. You're one of many of those, but there's one chief troublemaker. And so I gave myself permission to break the rules that make no sense and create new ones. And that's all based on lived experience. Years ago,
you're going to love this title. I just remembered this. I was at a real small company and they're like, call yourself whatever you want. And I came up with Chief Creative Provocateur.
I like chief provocateur, right? Because it gives you permission to be a creative provocateur, a media provocateur, a podcast provocateur.
Everything. Okay. So how did
there's a lingerie line named that, by the way, just saying.
Say it again?
I think there's a lingerie line called Provocateur.
Is there? Huh. Okay.
You're on trend.
I'm on trend. I was ahead of my time. So walk us through, about how breaking the rules and challenging status quo, you found OTX and then Female Quotient. How did those stars align?
Nothing I've ever done has been linear or in a textbook or done before. So I am a first in many ways. I had an idea. I was in market research, traditional market research, telephone interviews, wall intercepts, that kind of thing. It was a little ahead of online becoming the new norm. We were on 14.4 modems at the time, but I did have the idea to migrate research from offline to online in a day and age where truly very few people, early adopters, were online. And I was told at the company I was at that it was too early, too ahead of its time. We have to wait for it to become more universal, more representative, all that kind of stuff. And I was on a panel with Larry Mock, the chief research officer of Procter & Gamble at the time. And my bosses, men, were on the front row. And I was whispering to Larry, and I come off the stage and they said, "Hey, what'd you talk to Larry about?" And I just asked him, when is the right time to come and talk to Procter & Gamble about migrating research from offline to online because you all told me there's a right time. I just want to know when that right time is. And he said, next week. I said, great. We're going to come in and talk to you about it. And my bosses said, great. Paul will go, Peter will go, and Ringo will go. And I said, well, what about Shelley? It was my idea and I'm going to go. And if I'm not going, I'm going to cancel the meeting and you can all wait for the right time. And so, of course, that was my moment where I realized, why am I always waiting for permission to be told what I can and when I can do something? And of course, I left and I started my company called Online Testing Exchange, OTX. And that was that. And that was when I realized I'd rather be in charge and make my own decisions and not be told it's not the right time. I'm not the right person. It's not going to work, And I kind of thought to myself, but why? They've never done that before. Someone has to be the first. Someone has to break a pattern, create a new one and start. And it's going to be hard and it's going to be scary, but I'm going to do it. And as a result of that, I am the mother of online research. I was the first in the world and created a pretty significant company. And that is when I was on the top 25 list of being the CEO of a market research company, but the only woman, which led to why I started the female quotient after I sold my company a couple of times. I realized it was time for me to give back with generosity, what I wish I had my whole career, which was called Friends in Business, women supporting women. And I started the female quotient. And that's I'll pause, but that's how one thing led to the next.
Mm-hmm. And now it's not hyperbole to say, at least I don't think so, the female quotient is a global movement, right? Go ahead.
We are the largest global community of women in business, over 7 million plus, growing organically by the day, power women across 30 industries, 100 countries. But more importantly, it started with creating spaces, safe spaces for women to support other women, to be seen, to be heard, to hand the mic over to them. Now it is a space for conscious leaders. It's called the FQ Lounge, where it's the power of collaboration. And we went from truly a moment to a movement, but that movement has become a new momentum, a momentum for change. And it vibrates on a whole other level of vibration where the power of collaboration makes a difference. I coined the phrase power of the pack. A woman alone has power. Collectively, we have impact. But it's also a company alone has power. Collectively, we have impact. You can have a big idea, but you can't create transformative change alone. You got to go together. And when you go together, you do go further and faster, but you also go now. You don't have to wait and watch for everyone else to jump onto the bandwagon. You bring the pack with you and boom, change happens.
Yeah.
It's miraculous.
And I can imagine people hearing this going, yeah, that's easy for you to say. It's not easy for you because you did it. But it is as simple as that as well. Like, I don't know if I'm speaking on both sides of my mouth there, but you just did it. You didn't sit there and let's have a meeting about the meeting, and all these other things. You just did it.
It wasn't easy. When you're a part, I say you got to be the first, the second, the third. The first is the innovator. You make the mistakes and you have to build an ecosystem. You got to persuade people that this idea that has never existed before, because most people are comfortable with status quo because they know what they know. But looking for what's possible is scary for a lot of people. The second's a copycat. They copy what you've done, but they don't know what's under the hood. And the third is the sweeper. They ride in on that beautiful white horse and they sweep. It's already an ecosystem. They get the funding and they don't have to make the mistakes that you make. And so I always said I have to be the first, second, and third because no one's going to, beat me at my own game. And so I'm always 10 years ahead of a trend. So we stayed ahead, but it wasn't easy, coming in with, there was no DE&I. I was not in the DE&I space or in HR. I'm not in the business of women. I was in the business of equality, which no one ever heard of before. And I made that shit up and got people to buy into it. But it was not simple. Or even women coming to a girls' lounge because it started as the girls' lounge. A lot of women would say, we're not girls, we're women. I said, have you ever heard a man object to being a boy in the boys' club? Like, be a girl, be a girlfriend, go girl. Like a ladies' lounge sounds like a bathroom. A women's lounge, so boring. Girls' lounge, you could break some rules. You can have some fun. We could have a good time and make a difference. And so that wasn't that simple. I don't want to say it was an idea and then it just kind of took off. It's a journey.
I think my point was that you, again, back to actions and words.
Yes.
Right. So what are some, God, sorry.
I wasn't turning back. And also I wasn't looking for funding. I made a very significant commitment to myself that I was going to fund it myself. If I had to wait for people to buy in, I wouldn't be where I am today.
That's the mic drop. That's the mic drop. You just mentioned DEI. I'm going to get to that in a second. But before I do, I want to stay on the topic of women and leadership, right? How do women bring, that unique perspective to leadership right now? And why is it crucial right now?
We talk a lot about the empathetic CEO, the human CEO. Okay, that sounds really good, but what does that really mean? And when you think about, it's not male, female, it's masculine, feminine, because plenty of men have the feminine, plenty of women have the masculine, right? So it's not just women, but it is about the feminine qualities of leadership today, which we have often called the soft skills. I actually think they're the critical, essential skills of leadership today: empathy, compassion, collaboration, listening, learning, growing. All of those qualities, in my opinion, are the most important qualities of leadership today. And, we talk about the hard skills, the masculine, linear, analytic, decisive, but it's the soft skills, which are the essential skills, which I think are the most important. They are the human empathetic skills translated. And that is the feminine. It is that part of the brain that we utilize, not hiding those qualities, but actually amplifying those qualities. I'd like to see a job description saying we're looking for an empathetic, compassionate, passionate, collaborative leader that can deliver a great ROI. Give me that. An ROI, not just being, and it's a double ROI, return on investment and return on impact. And if we actually reinforce those in important ways, the world would change. We're doing it slowly but surely. But that to me is what, in general, women bring to the table. And that is the feminine. And so, we know that women outperform, men 3-1, 3 times more if they are handed that baton, because they create this culture that is based on lived experience. If you think about the rules, it's not that it was bad, but the rules of the workplace were written over 100 years ago by men for men, because women weren't in the workplace.
Yep.
Weren't primary caregivers. So a lot of the rules of the work were just not written based on what we need today, which is caregivers to rise to the top in the workplace. And yet we're losing our best leaders to caregiving. I'm
just thinking, I'm completely agreeing everything you're saying. And I just hope, this is going to sound hyperbolic, I don't mean it that way, but I hope we're alive to see what you're talking about. I really do.
Well, if we wait and watch, we won't be.
Right.
According to the World Economic Forum, it says it'll take over 134 years to close the gender gap. And they sit around the table at the World Economic Forum talking about it. And no one's ever questioned that. 134 years. It's exactly what he said. Not only will you not be here, your children won't be here, your grandchildren won't be here, your great-grandchildren won't be here. What are we waiting for?
That's pathetic.
In 10 years, made the impossible possible. We created a vaccine for a deadly disease in 1 year, making the impossible possible. We have the data. We have what we need to know. There is nothing holding us back. It is the only global goal that a Fortune 500 CEO can actually achieve in the lifetime of their leadership by creating a culture, a business environment that is welcoming to all, providing opportunity for everyone to thrive. It is the easiest thing in the world to do if we have intentionality, consciousness. It's just about choice, priority, and intentionality. Make a decision that that's what you want to do, and you can do it. About,
maybe 15 years ago, I wrote this article. It was very off the cuff, and it was something like, the title was like, these are the 7 most dangerous words in history. And the 7 words were something like, that's the way it's always been done. This screams to that.
And that's the truth. And, because it's what I told you, change is scary. And also, if you make a mistake, you get dinged. So people are afraid. They have this fear of doing something wrong. But by following status quo, it's been done that way. So you can at least perpetuate that. And that's why things don't change. And the crazy thing is, if you actually look at the workforce and the workplace, nothing has changed in the workplace significantly, substantially, visibly until COVID. COVID happens. Boom. All of a sudden, business had to change. Leadership had to evolve. Culture had to evolve. Workplace where we work had to evolve. It wasn't a conversation. It wasn't something that we sat around with time to think about. And overnight, the world changed. Business changed. And by the way, it was okay. And a lot of great things came from that. It forced us to change. If we thought about it rationally, cognitively, we would have been still thinking about today, how are we going to adapt in COVID? It wasn't a 1 weekend moment. You can live through anything for a week, 2 weeks, a month, not 2 years. Radically changed and shift business as we knew it to now business as we know today. And now how we're picking up the best things that happened and going back to office. We're not going back to work. We're going back to office. And what are the implications and how do we make that happen? The more we rationalize and justify, the less that happens. But boom, 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 boom. If you follow your heart, and that's why I always follow my heart, it moves you in the direction you have to move. And if the rules of the workplace were written by a primary caregiver, by the lowest common denominator, or by the collective minority, it would work for the current majority.
Yeah. Yeah. It is fascinating. It's almost like it's the world's in two different buckets, pre-COVID, post-COVID. So
and we have responsibility and accountability around that. And do you just go back to what it was, status quo, or do you create the new possible?
Right.
And that's what we need to be doing. And that's why we're now 3 days in office, maybe it's 3 days in office and 2 days out, we're still relying on the Zoom screen, but what would we have done without that? And maybe some meetings can be replaced by Zoom, but not everything should. We need to go back to the tangible of in person and face to face. And, that's the water cooler moments that we're missing if we're not back in office.
Yeah. I want to go back to DEI for a second. The DEI policies are evolving. That's a massive understatement. But I want to get your thoughts on how are businesses adapting to these ever evolving policies?
Listen, I think if people really understand what we're global, so, we work around the world, but I actually think it's an opportunity for CEOs to look inward and say, what really happened with DE&I inside of our companies, because it cannot be a quota. It really does need to be about providing opportunity so that we can hire the best to ensure that we have representation and reflection for the audiences that we serve, for the customers that are buying, for the fans that are engaging, for the society that we serve, for growth and for innovation. And so if you actually look at what the EEOC says, they said, we need equal opportunity for hiring the best. So no one is saying eliminate women, eliminate diversity. We are inferring that's fear factor again. That is where any company that is just diversity washing everything, not just on the outside, but truly on the inside, is going to become Polaroid or Kodak one day, because they're not going to be creating the products and services and delivering them in a way that their audience requires. The world is diverse and inclusive. And so if we don't think about that, we will not be relevant tomorrow and in 4 years from now. So,
and that is not hyperbole at all.
No. So I think that you are seeing companies that are standing up. Diversity and inclusion has to live within the fabric and DNA of a company's existence, which means it has to be a CEO imperative, business imperative, growth imperative, innovation imperative, and not a quota. We need the best talent inside of our companies to ensure that we are creating the products and services that the world needs. And so if you think about it that way, companies might have paused for a second because it did create pause and reflection. But the companies that are doing it successfully are also being honest with themselves to say, did we go a little too far and hire people that might not be the right ones in the right areas, serving, our businesses in the best capacity. Right. And they are also understanding that it has to be part of the strategy of business, period. Exclamation point, heart, heart, heart.
That's I'll throw a couple more hearts at the end. By the way, who was the other country we just heard from? What was it? What's your dog's name? And
Rufus.
Rufus. Oh, what a great name. Oh, and he sounds like a big dog.
Yeah.
All right.
He only works. Rufus, come to mommy.
Again, you're getting this in real time, everyone. This is awesome.
Here, come say hi to Steve. Come here.
Oh my God.
Come here.
Oh my God, there he is. Wait. Labradoodle?
He's a sheep doodle and
Close.
something else combined.
Okay.
My daughter and son-in-laws and grandson's doggy. And now he's my doggy. Cuddles me.
He is adorable.
Come look in the face. Come here. Look closer. Come to puppy. Come here. He's looking at the floor.
Okay, you're gonna have to when I publish this episode, Shelley, you're gonna have to include a picture with your picture so everyone can see Rufus because he is amazing. Oh my God, he's so adorable.
He's pawing me now.
And obviously he's very protective.
He's a human in a dog's body.
There you
His
go.
eyes are human. Like he's so adorable and he's so sweet. Oh, he comes cuddles me in my bed every morning, looking for me. And I travel a lot, so when I'm not there, he stands by my door,
Right.
waiting for me.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay, I want to go to not that I wouldn't want to talk Rufus the rest of the time. Purpose-driven marketing. You know, it's gaining momentum, yada, yada, yada. Can you speak to how businesses that align with social responsibility and see an ROI? Like, how does that all tie together? Purpose-driven marketing?
Well, listen, I mean, the truth is consumers are not dumb. Like, they're really smart. 85% of purchase decisions, by the way, are made by women. And if you understand your values and your purpose, that comes through. And so even the word marketing, I mean, it's like marketing you have to create content that people want to pull. And pull is purpose-driven brands and brands that stand true to their values consistently and authentically.
Something you just said, and people are going to think I put you up to it because it's something I've said forever when it comes to consumers. They are so much smarter than we all give them credit for.
I mean, and to me, they're not consumers, they're people. You know, they consume your brand, your content, whatever, but they're people, they're humans, and they can see through bullshit.
They can, and they realize that company XYZ has a product, a service, or something to sell them. They get that. Don't insult their intelligence. They know you're in business to make business and make money. I get it. But why? It just blows my mind. Anyway,
and that's why it's like doing good and doing well. You can do both.
Exactly. I just don't why, and it's such a.
Or see Mark Pritchard on that. Mark Pritchard, Chief Brand Officer, Procter & Gamble. He talks about it all the time. Doing good and doing well.
So we're coming up, and I want to have some fun at the end. I do this thing called the Random 5, where I ask each guest 5 random personal questions, which you're going to get to in a second. Okay. But I want to give you the floor, right, and say, what can other leaders learn from your approach to building and nurturing and building the biggest female quotient and global movement? And what are some things other leaders can learn?
Well, number one, anything is possible if you want it. So, you know, don't just say, oh, it's not possible. You can if you want to do it. So anything is possible if you want it. It just requires being a conscious leader, prioritization, and choice. The other is, I think it really is about opportunity and visibility and rewriting the rules so that everyone can thrive. And I'm working on something called the Rose Gold Rule. Golden rule, do unto others as you'd want done to yourself. But what I might want done for me might not be what you want done for you. The platinum rule then came, do unto others as they'd want done to themselves. But that's still about the individual. The rose gold rule is do unto others as the collective to reflect the collective. And that is understanding everyone in your company. So I'm a primary caregiver. Someone else might have accessibility issues. Someone else might have, you might be part of a minority group that doesn't feel seen and heard. So reflect what your collective needs, and then you will create the rules that will work for everyone. But as a Fortune 500 CEO writing the rules, if I'm not a primary caregiver, I might not understand what a primary caregiver needs. Or if I'm a guy that has never had bias or been perceived in a way that didn't feel comfortable, they wouldn't understand how to do. So listen to what your collective needs. I would say it's the collective minority, because if it does work for the collective minority, it's going to work. It's going to be really easy for the majority. I mean, they're just going to coast.
Yeah. It's what you're saying in a nutshell, correct me if I'm wrong, is there's no such thing as one size fits all.
No. So, create a culture that, allows everyone to pull, let everyone's differences be their greatest strength and be valuable. I hire for passion, train for skill. So hire for kindness and train for skill. I don't care what you hire for, but a culture isn't top down or bottom up. It's all around. You need to have good people. An organization's best asset is their people. So if you have good, kind people, unless you want to be a doctor, lawyer, or an accountant, you need a little more textbook skill. But if you hire good people, recruit for good, kind people, everyone will feel comfortable.
Yeah.
If you have assholes and you keep assholes, I don't care how good a salesperson an asshole is, male or female, get rid of them. They're going to, one bad apple can spoil
the whole bunch.
A whole bunch. And that's true. Get rid of that bad apple. We don't need them. Bye-bye.
This is frightening, because another one of my mantras in life is I have a very strict rule in my life. No assholes allowed.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I'm not saying that those are men and women. I'm going to put women in that category too, because sometimes people say, oh, we need more women at the top. Well, more women at the top doesn't necessarily mean they're going to bring others up. I don't care if you're man or woman, if you are in a position of power, use that power to create change. That's a conscious leader.
Yep. Okay. You ready to have some fun? Not that we weren't having fun.
Okay, let's go.
I call them the random 5. I pull them very randomly from this huge repository of questions. Here we go. Number 1. What's a hobby or passion that most people wouldn't guess you have?
Watching dumb television.
You got to elaborate. Give us an example of dumb television.
I wake up an hour early every morning. I get my coffee, my Danish, chocolate chip Danish, mushy, get into bed, and I watch. Because I country hop, I sometimes watch Turkish TV. I might watch Spanish novellas, the drug lords, and I might watch Love is Blind. I don't know, anything that doesn't make me think about work stuff. Just that's lighthearted.
It's an escape.
It's time for me.
I got it. Number 2, who do you turn to for inspiration or guidance when you're facing a tough decision?
My pack. Completely
unsurprising. You just touched on this, so I didn't realize you're going to answer the first one this way, but what's your morning routine and how does it set the tone for your day?
So I told you, I start with my coffee, my Danish, my TV show. So at least I get one episode in, and I will get rid of, before I get my coffee even, I will go through my phone and get rid of all of my junk stuff so that it's not overwhelming. So I just delete, push it out of the way, clean it up, and I focus on my show and and I get dressed and so on.
Okay.
I'll maybe exercise or I'll spin. I like SoulCycle. I spin.
Yep. Okay. Number 4, what's a mistake you made that ended up being a valuable learning experience?
Oh, I made so many, but I call them risks. I don't look at them as failure or mistakes. The risks I was willing to take. How big a risk was I willing to take? But I made so many, but maybe people will say that I gave away 80% of my company for $1 million at the beginning. And the million wasn't for me. It was for a developer that was 20 years old. But I don't see that as a mistake. I would do it all over again.
Okay. That's fair.
I don't see any of them as mistakes. They're all learning, growth moments for me.
That's the underlying. They're all learning. Last question. What's the wildest conspiracy theory you've ever found remotely believable?
Conspiracy theory. Wow. This is actually very fun. My husband's Canadian. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory or not, but it's actually kind of funny. And they're much more formal. And someone took a bite out of a Danish and no one has confessed to it. And so there's rumors still fueling 40 years later of who took the bite out of that Danish. So there is conspiracy theories around that. And I knew who did it. And I'm not going to tell because I love the game.
Oh, so you know.
It was in his family. My family would have fessed up because they do it all the time. His family, no one will admit it.
Have people come to you and go, do you know who it is?
They all have speculation. And to me, it's so clear who the person was. Because if you actually know people, you can put the clues together.
Yeah, but see, not everybody's attuned to people like you are.
Yeah, I'm a researcher, though.
Right.
I study people.
Exactly. Well, listen, Shelley, what an absolute blast. I knew we were going to have a great time. I knew the time was going to fly by. I hope you enjoyed it even half as much as I did. Thank you.
Oh my God. I actually loved it. You're fun. It's a fun way to get to wherever you want. I hope we got to where you wanted to go.
Absolutely. Without question.
I want to hear your conspiracy theory.
What is my conspiracy theory?
Let's answer that question for yourself.
Okay. I'm going to say, I'm going to, believe it or not, I'm going to go with the pyramids and that aliens built them. Have you heard that?
No, I mean, I know who built them. So,
no, but have you heard the conspiracy that aliens actually built the pyramids?
I'm really always amazed at how we have a blueprint and how we're all birthed. Like, was it God, divinity, or combustible energy in the solar system, which I don't understand how that could keep replicating. So that doesn't make sense.
Correct. I think we are at heart. We're both very curious and very student of human nature.
Yeah. But I still, till this day, when I think about people talking about their differences, and what about our similarities? Like how we all have eyes, nose, mouth, ears, hearts. You know, I still do not understand how this happened.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to say
our similarities, then go to your differences. But the truth is, I am amazed how we are all humans.
You know, it's so funny you say that too. As I was just talking to, I forget who it was, somebody young. And, you know, they're like, oh my God, you've interviewed so many famous people and blah, blah, blah. Then you get intimidated. And I'm like, it's the oldest adage of we all put our pants on the same way. You know, pick one.
Yeah, it's remarkable to me. So that to me is the biggest mystery in life. I still find that to be the biggest mystery in life.
Me too. I agree. We're gonna delve into that in part 2 because there will be a part 2.
Okay, sounds good. All right,
thank you again. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the CMO Whisperer Show. I hope you shared this episode with your friends. And if you have not already, please subscribe to be kept up to date on all the latest episodes. And if you're so inclined, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you.